So let me ask you about the kind of the how this law is constructed and whether or not you expect it to prevail. So right now, the United States Supreme Court is saying that challenges to this law are allowed to go through the court process, but at the moment, the court is not filing an injunction against this Texas law. They're not stopping this law from being in effect in Texas. Now, this was construed in some corners of the left and the mainstream press as being somehow, a defeat for people who support abortion. But the reality is, it seems to me that the court process will continue, and at some point, the Supreme Court may render a judgment here on whether or not this novel approach that Texas has taken is constitutional and can stand. How do you expect it's going to go?
Well, thank you. I'm glad you asked, because I really failed to give the final piece of the enforcement mechanism and why it's unique. So, and this will answer your question. We talked about how this is enforced by private citizens and not by the government. Normally, when the government passes a law that you don't like, if you want to block it, you can't just sue the law, right? You have to sue the person, the state official in charge with enforcing the law. So you would sue the governor or the attorney general or the district attorney and ask the federal court to grant an injunction saying, Governor, Attorney General, AG, you cannot enforce this law. This heartbeat law made that more complicated because there's no government official to sue, right? They couldn't sue 30 million Texans. And so they made a couple of attempts. They tried to sue every state judge in Texas and say, federal judge, we want you to order the state judge not to accept these lawsuits. Don't accept any of these private enforcements under Senate Bill 8. They also tried to sue all of our clerks. They said, don't accept the filings. And so the Supreme Court said no. On Friday, they said, no, you cannot sue the state judge. A federal court cannot block a state court from doing its job. You can't sue the clerk. Now, here's what the Supreme Court said. They said you can sue 3 state agency heads, because it may be that they would be involved at some point. And I'm sorry for the long answer, but here's what the Supreme Court said. You can sue the head of the Health and Human Services Commission in Texas, the head of the pharmacy board, the head of the medical board. And the Supreme Court reasoned that that's because if a doctor performed an illegal abortion and were sued by a citizen under Senate Bill 8 and faced a judgment, it could be that when that doctor then went to renew his license with the medical board or the pharmacy board or his abortion clinic license, he could run into problems there. So since that is state action, the Supreme Court said, yes, your suits can go forward against those state agencies. I would just say this, there is no practical effect on the heartbeat law. If a doctor performs an illegal abortion in Texas, he's subject to suit by any person who can prove what he has done. And so that will continue. That law is in place. They can sue, the abortion industry can sue the head of those agencies all day long, and it will not block the heartbeat law from having its effect. So
can I ask you,
practical matter, we believe it's going to stay in effect.
Can I ask you directly, was this law designed to stop the Supreme Court from stopping it?
It was not. Our intent was to pass a law that would take effect. We were concerned about those district attorneys who said they would not enforce the law. And again, we looked at this 20-year-old Louisiana case, Okfalopi, difficult to spell, Okfalopi case, where the same thing had happened. And I want to be clear, there is still judicial review. Some folks have said that our mechanism prevents judicial review. My goodness, our bill is enforced in the courts. Of course, there is judicial review. We welcome judicial review. And we believe once the Supreme Court looks at this case on the merits, not just the process, they're going to uphold it. We're going to win. It's constitutional. But no, it was not designed to prevent that from happening. Since we don't rely on the state enforcement, it means you have to get your judicial review in a different way, but there's still judicial review. We welcome that. We're on the side of the Constitution. I mean, come on, maybe we'll talk about this, but in 1973, 7 old men on the Supreme Court decided to force abortion on demand on the rest of the country. It's not in the Constitution. It was not the will of the people. And the people have been trying to reverse that ever since. And that's part of what this is about. That's really what this is about.